morning. Tansa Tawya. Iwa kumagantik. Sorry for the delay. We've been having technical difficulties, but since we'll just get started, I have invited. This is Nia, Brenda Albert, Clifford Whitney School. Invited some elders from this community to come and share Atayukaw legends, and then later on stories about growing up on red pheasant, Mixorzi. So to my right, we have Peter Benson, and to my left, we have Edgar Baptiste. So we'll start off with Peter Benson. Gachimut.
Good morning. My name is Peter Benson. I'm an elder. I guess I should say I'm going to be 67 years old in April. So I'm thankful that got invited to Clifford Whitney School to share our some of the knowledge that we had heard from our elders in the past. Growing up, that's all we used to sit in the evenings. Our elders used to put us in a circle, and they used to tell us stories of everything like hunting, survival, things like that. And we used to really enjoy listening to them, just like looking at a TV. That's how their stories are really, they were really nice. You weren't tired of listening to them. They used to talk about the old days, like Nanabush. They call them in English is Isakecha, and apparently Isakecha had roamed around in our area here back in the day. Uh, he was more or less like our our savior, I would say, that showed us everything. Left marks here and there where he had roamed around in Canada like that. And over there on the other side of the world, they had Jesus over there. Jesus had been over there with his people, and over here we had Wishakita, Nanabush, and that's just like our Creator. I guess He created a lot of stuff for us all along, and He left markings here and there that Nanabush. The tramping lake over here, they call it. They left a footmark over there, so that he's been there. And also, there's Suskatoni, Sliding Hill, they call it in Sweetgrass. Apparently, had slide there once, and he left a slide mark down the hill there. We saw it up there, and over the years, people used to go to that hill over there, and used to go and take a cloth tobacco and pray to Ishakichak to help them, to heal them, what's bothering them. And they used to slide down that hill, these people, back in the day. That's how sacred that hill was. But over the years, what I heard, our people didn't respect that hill. They used to go party over there or whatnot. They kind of, they kind of They kind of killed that blessing, that hill there, because they didn't respect that hill. That's what I heard. If I'm mistaken, don't take my story, but just the things I kind of heard over the years that I was listening to elders when I was younger, but not fully listening. But I took some of their words that they used to talk about Nanabush, that that he was friends with everything, even animals. He used to talk to animals. and he got along with us people, and he went all over, right down to East Coast, West, South. He went all over this country here. The Saskatchewan, I heard, and he has songs, traditional songs that they still sing to him. His songs that he had left us to use in the ceremonies, sweats, sun dances. They still sing to him. The Saskatchewan, and a lot of times people they give him a smoke. They offer him a smoke and cloth to to help him from over there. Give him blessing, guidance, things like that. And what I heard, just when us people were going to start getting together, Jesus and Wissahickon, they said they met over there, Cypress Hills by Maple Creek. This crater from over there, and Wissahickon, they met in that Cypress Hills over there, and they had talked. They talked together there about how was it over there. Jesus, Jesus talked about how he was treated over there. That his people over there, some of those people out there got jealous about Jesus over there because he was doing miracles. People were sick, blind, and that, and Jesus would bless them with his hand or something, and they used to get well from there. And those people over there, they kind of got jealous about Jesus over there because he had powers. And they didn't like that, so they looked for him over there for a while. I guess over there, those people looked for that person because he was doing miracles, and they didn't like that. So he was hiding amongst his people, his poor people. Jesus over there, hiding amongst those poor people, so he won't get noticed. I guess they were looking for him at the time over there. Finally, they got a hold of him, I guess, and this is just a story. I'm not saying it's real, but I'm just telling a story what I heard, and they had they did they captured them and kept them, and and they tortured him over there. They didn't want to give up what he had in him. He didn't say nothing. He just went along with abuse he got through with his people over there. Apparently, they end up put him in a cross, and they they stuck sharp objects in his in his body to kill him. So that's what they did to Jesus over there, I guess, in other countries where he was at. And that's over here that we got along with none of us. We saw each other over here. We got along with the people. That's what they talked over there when they met Jesus and we saw each other. This is what happened to me over there. That's what my people did to me out there. So so Isaac said he got along with everybody around I would say Canada, I guess, in the United States, wherever he roamed around. That he got along with even animals and us people, native people. He showed us lots, his spiritual things that he had. He said he passed it on to some of our people. And a lot of times now, like sun dances and that and everything, they still mention his name, Usagi talk that. we still believe in him because he didn't did anything wrong for us here. He helped us, and there's a lot of stories about him like that he had done in the past. You know, in his ways, but everything was good. He didn't do anything bad. My grandma used to say, used to be songs to. I never heard those songs, but there were songs for animals at the time that they used to sing to him and ask him to help him out like that. So yeah, so he left markings here and there. We saw it in Canada. So he was alive one time, like us, till we started to form now, and then that's when he disappeared. So then from there, us Native First Nations people, we gradually made it our own till now, and all the help, knowledge of our elders, generation to generation. That's how things work, through stories, living wise, everything. It's ongoing. We just got to keep our traditional ways uh, to keep going, to tell to our kids, our people about our native ways. They're all sacred. If we can respect them, like sweetgrass, it's sacred. That's the only smudge that goes up in the air out to the heavens when you burn sweetgrass. They said, and when you say a prayer and it carries your prayers up to the heavens, they say that sweetgrass. So anytime when somebody's having a problem with his mind or something, smudge will help clear a mind. Or you boil that smudge and you drink that juice, and it's supposed to help your body too. These are the things that Isaki was around there with these things there. Maybe he placed those things for us to use, all those herbs, medicines that comes from the ground that we still use out there. We gotta respect those herbs that comes from the ground. Anything that comes from the ground, it's good. That for us, even animals they get they get cured by just eating grass, whatever. These animals, that's so they don't get sick and that. So all these things that we have in our Mother Earth here, they all have responsibilities, daily responsibilities, like animals, birds, flies, insects. They're the ones that help the world, filters the world so it won't poison in any way. That's why we have all these things out there that look after the world in that way. That's what my grandma used to say. Every living thing, even plants, they're living. They talk to each other. These plants. When if there's an intruder coming, some of those worms that when they eat that plant and then it destroys it, they kill it. So when an intruder comes, these plants tell each other in some way that there's an intruder coming. So these all everything like that is living, like us we're living. So it's good to know these things. Like someday our kids are going to be elders like us, and maybe they're going to be talking to kids in the future. Maybe they'll be better if they can only learn their cultural ways. These kids, and they'll help them in the long run. Like right now, like in the stage where we're at, things are happening. And we just went through a sickness. It's still out there, and elders used to say, these things might come about in a sometimes, and that's where we at. Things are coming in now, like sicknesses, all kinds of things. So elders used to predict those things are going to come about someday, and that's where we at now. We have to really focus on our herbs, whatever we know to help our children to use in for them. Our grandmas used to always give us medicines when we were growing up. We didn't know what it was, but they used to tell us, drink this, it'll help you. So maybe that's why we're still here, about those herbs that we used to take, things like that, and respect everything, like animals, whatever. Anything you have, you gotta respect. Respect yourself, respect your body, and things like that. Our elders used to say to us. And yeah, so I'm really glad I'm here and trying to tell my little bit of knowledge. I know I don't really know much, but I'm trying. So like to thank the Clifford Whitney School teachers and the staff. They're trying to bring in these cultural things to our to our to our kids, our grandchildren in Red Pleasant here. That it's most really most needed stuff to for them to hear. Because we sometimes we don't pay attention to our kids. We are into other things. So these things, at least they're hearing these in the school, which is maybe one word or something they want to take from there from us. They might maybe think about what are we trying to say. So that's what I'm saying this morning, and I'm really thankful that we see another day today. But let's get together, help each other out, talk to each other, be nice to each other, respect each other, and let's keep these old stories alive. Bring them back, so our children, our people can hear about these stories. So they just don't stay out there. They gotta be talked about. So this way people will know. So I'm going to pass. I'm going to give Edgar Baptiste here to say a few words. My brother, him too, he grew up with elders. His dad was my uncle Nolan Baptiste was a cultural man in this reserve, and we knew lot of things from them. Also, my uncle Frank Musselman, they used to help us in our younger days, going to sundances, things like that. That's how we know a little bit about his history through them, going around with them and singing sundances, praying, things like that. That's how we were brought up. So a lot of good stories we have, but we don't have a certain time to talk about stories and really good old stories out there that I wish I can remember them, but I was kind of small when they used to talk about these things. So yeah, I'll pass this mic on to Edgar Baptiste.
Thank you, my brother Peter Benson. This week of February, mid-month of February, that we're here to be telling some stories to the school, Clifford Watney School, and students. I've been here already many times in the past few years to come and talk to the students. And today that we're going to be telling stories about Usagi-sak. My brother Peter already told all the stories about Isagitak, but I can maybe talk about a little bit of story about Isagitak, and also I'll tell my story in my Cree language first before I want to go on. And this is our way of life as Native people. This area and where we at, Red Peasant Cree Nation, is very sacred. So I'm going to start off with my Cree language first and then translate it into English. Kasi kaya no kumagan te kaya ano sa mga isiga e ko opi simo api to e gembiste tu mana kaya sa yo ki te musumma ku humma yo ki ya tsumutsi ya ta yuhets uts pe on shu ak mane ki pe ka ni gi hwana yu ga ya ne asinim shigi ga ne ma hukma na e gi ga ne ma chik ma na ki te mi che ya na na so te pa ku ekse ko ma na e gi tsmu ha hukma na ki te yak ma na ma tip ska na tu ma na tsmu ne gi tsmu Evni mane gya chime u ha isage chak. Nana tu mane sama na o isage chak agi waska me ska go mas gi pai tin gi te tuwe. Ego mi na ya. Egi ma tau sit. U tau no gi ma tau I hat. O ga mi na muska pe to e go ste so. Kap ma chi ma te. E pa ma chi hui. Egi nak ska tu tuwe. Si man tu gusan na to tuwe. Egna ne atsumu na ga ya se egi atsumu tskete ego mana ga ye piak mana egi atip ska gum egi waska me piak mana egi atsumu ta tsu go atsumu na ten mana so gi wa we sa atsumu tsik kagi babm ska te to ma gi pamu te to ya sa gi tsak Ito ge mana sko mana nan to mana gi main ge ste Ego me ge ya tsumu tsu mana ge te ye ge pe go su ma ya pe pa mu te te su ego ya gi ma tau si ka ge gi was a pu me no mana gi mi sku tsu pa pe su ga ji bi si se gi mi sku tsu pa mana su te ma ga na mo gu ta wi no gi mi gu tam mam special su son Yokse pa mu te te su ma Stige ta ku na ki sum ka op ma de sa ya ap sum bu sene te ni bo yi mu wa yo yokse na chu start is ta chum ha chum no ma e we sa chum gi we sa chum ta mam o ka gi a chum ta to xe no yokse spu ta chum te sa ma tan so ga ko ne te ka chap ta chum ta me ga pas ka te to ma e ko mi no Still ma pas ka ne sem ne ne isai mi scuti poi da tam ama pas kan stigam mote so ko pas sa de ska pak tin ge has pene so so se ta basi hey ka skei ten tena so mu te na o mu te ga wi stama so he ka skei ten na nos Tene siya kami ko apis ksuato hay asinya. Tene sakta ka ti china bitum umite ga samaswa mana. Tene siya sigis mi ko apis ksuita na asinya te china. Hekse kis tame so mute na we te ga samaswa. Hekse ba mute te so me ga dene te wisagi hos tame gum de go mi den tanaya. Aya. Eti na kun tanaya ga gigs na we saga ke so mute te go saga ke ti do te te tene sana na tu pisi so go be tax ge. E wi gi ma wa ke so me mute. Asku sama na mi gi mi te te mi gi sa go mana we mu. Ebne sani pisi saga ma me to ga te go te so. We saw get out umigi micho this I took it. Boy, could they say media that way? This one hit to 10 pieces. I go now much more than I give ya too much to get there. And woman and tregi pap ya mana. Then not 200 it's moon. Ya chima chuman we saw get out one. Except someone who make you are some scaga skew. Das Huton stesso gab matsmu tatu te su squatwan gab mishinga te na gochi. Agute same gi pe mu te tamam. Su squatche te egi anta su sem tamaga gi su squatche jab te same te no wakman. Egi ma eshi ta tamam. Amaya spat now. Ego mane srpte ginto I see no man gi do te so me se ata. Ego mama spat now. Dana tu ek gi do ta mane smana. Kia bitsum mane gi do te man. Te gi not ma soon nun it's wisto man ga am ma chut. Excellent tu bukan suk soon gi ya tan wi sage ta. Biscuit by tapu piece, ya sugar maybe had the sample in mana. Simpium. I would tell my Negisa sugar maybe at them. What the who was here? Around was here, meet them up. If she says something, power swam, say them. Mas is beats up. Accent and stay you and Nagiat more, we saw it some we stay you were down, I know why. Got some muta, put out the yards got big switch. So with that, I like to translate that in a little bit of English. Was talking about Isagi chapter, and white people call them Nanabus, but that's just a word of the white people. And Usagi roam around this area of the native lands, all different countries. He went around the whole world at that time, way back in decades, thousands, maybe a million years ago. And great creator created him. He gave him that spiritual powers that at that time. And Usagi talk there, he can turn into any kind of animal or bird. That's the powers that he was given. And you roam around this and you walk through this world that some people didn't know. Even even Jesus he was going through Balford area here. People didn't know in the boat. He was going through Saskatchewan River here. And this land of red pheasant that were given to us from the great creators, native people, is very powerful, sacred. There's a lot of sacred areas here. And all living things are powerful, such as the thunderbird. And over here to our north side of our reservation, our native lands. I hate calling our native land reserve, and that's the that's the government that took over our lands at that time when they came across from overseas, and they were just supposed to be only visiting. Today now, white people are all over Canada, and they call it Canada. It's not Canada; it's native lands, and everything that they're going to take over, such as our culture and traditional ways in our lands. That's what's going to happen in a few years up, and in the future. I bet you about another 40, 50 years time that there ain't going to be any native lands into where we are, because the government is going to take over everything, and this is not right. But still, the great creator is looking after us as native people, and there's a lot of ways that you can tell stories about Visagit. Some of them are funny and funny stories, just like I was saying in Cree language there, while he was traveling through the country there, and it was normally like hunting a little bit here and there, and some funny story into that, but I don't really want to come up with that story. And but anyways, there's a lot of time yet. Like Friday, we'll have to come back again for storytelling yet, how we were brought up when we were small, when we were kids, and those are the stories that we're going to be doing. And but anyways, like Wisagit was very powerful and was given that from the great creator, and all the things that great creator created in this world is very powerful and sacred, and I know the white people are trying to challenge that to the great creator. Sure, the white people are smart; they can do everything. You know where we are in this building, right in this room here. You look all these things that white people create, and these are the things that really originally come from the Mother Earth. And but anyways, I like to really close off and conclusion to this storytelling today, and I'd like to thank each and every one of you that are listening, and also I'd like to thank the Clifford Whitney School, the staff, principal, teachers, and also the bus drivers that who's bringing the kids in. And it's going to be more into to teaching even more better, like to teach the kids how to talk their Cree language would be nice, because they can't really we, in the future they have to use that Cree language when something happens seriously to the world here. They're going to have to pray in their Cree language, and that's what I always say. And, but anyways, there again, once again, like thanks everybody for listening to me. Hello. Oh,
Hi. So again, I would like to thank Kihte Agone, Peter Benson, Kaginigan Teach Squid, Ego Edgar Baptist, na naskumawak, kapea suna magui kune, at tayo keuna, pe Mam skuma at station o Usahketawa. Again, I would like to thank these two elders for coming in and sharing their stories about our older brother station o Usahketak. And then they'll be back on Friday. Hopefully, we won't have any more technical difficulty. So with that,
Thank you.
Sam, hi, hi. We have two ladies that'll be coming in to come and sit here, to come and come and share their stories. So with that, just stay tuned. Give patience. Okay.
We're ready.
Oh, welcome back again. The two square walk ladies not to go and get one because they reached that stage not to go walk. I've been talking to kids about stages of life. On my right, we have Tina Whitford, and over on my left, Elsie Watley. They're both from this community. So now it'll be their turn to share what they have been told growing up. Now they'll share it with you people out there. Okay, take it away.
Hi, hi. Good afternoon, students, children. Um, we were given tobacco um, to talk about how we grew up with our grandparents and how we were told with Wissahichak stories, like legends, I guess we could say. But I invited my cousin Elsie here to come and share her story about she was brought up with her grandparents also, and she brought her book that her grandmother wrote.
Okay.
So she could talk about it a little bit on it, and then I'll talk about whatever my grandparents always told us, legends in the wintertime.
I'm going to start by introducing my grandmother. My grandmother raised me, and there's a book in the library, and she had wrote this book. It's called When Sinewak Isquisisak, Two Little Girls Lost in a Bush. It's a Cree story for children. My grandmother's name was Glecia Bear, but they called her Nahio. She came from the Green Lake Métis. And when she was really young, she was married, given away to my grandfather, Baptiste Bear, from the Flying Dust Reserve. She was given away to him. She had never met him, never seen him. One day, she was driven by horse and wagon and taken to Flying Dust. And that's where she met her husband to be. And what I've been raised with my grandparents was I was raised with the Métis culture, and I was also raised with the Cree culture. So I'm very fortunate that I have both teachings in
in my upbringing. My grandmother raised me and some of my siblings when I was younger because there was a lot of alcohol abuse in those days. It was in the 60s. And there was a lot of things that were happening during that time. There was the residential school era. There was also the 60 scoop, like I said, and our people were being affected by that, and I was affected by that as well because my grandmother had to raise us. My mother had given us to her to raise, but I never regret that day because she was able to teach me many things in my life. I shed tears. I honor you with my tears. I went to residential school myself, and it was a very traumatic experience for me, but I'm so thankful for my grandparents because they raised me in a way that I will never forget their teachings. In my lifetime, I grew up with those teachings. The first thing I was ever taught by my grandma was to have respect. Respect the elders. I'm so fortunate because I was able to pass that teaching on to my children, and my children are passing it on to theirs. If we have an elder that enters into a room, automatically we give them a chair to sit. If we have visitors, we don't even ask if they're hungry. We set the table, we feed them. I've been influenced so much by my grandmother that I'm so thankful for that. I always say that when I do my talk, I always say that if it wasn't for my grandparents, I probably would have been a missing, murdered Indigenous woman on the streets. The reason why I say that is because even though I came back from residential school, they taught me so much, and I can hang on to those teachings today. My grandmother, Nahio, was a storyteller, and she told many stories, and I remember her telling us stories when we were growing up as children. One of the things that she used to talk about in her stories, she used a lot of humor, and humor is healing. She'd make people laugh with her stories. She never made fun of anyone, but she would make fun in her stories in a good way, and it was always good to listen to her when she would be telling her stories. There's many opportunities I had to be around her, and even as she got older, she was used as an ambassador. Take her on these places to go and visit other people or other organizations where she would sit and tell her stories. In fact, I was with her one time when she was teaching at the conference that they had for educators in Saskatoon, and she was in the Besborough, and it was a great big circle. And it was so good to see that. It was so good for her to tell her stories. And the one story that I want to share with you is this. Growing up as a child, we were always taught to have respect for people. And we were taught never to make fun of anybody that was special, that they were gifted people. And that's what I always remember. I remember when I would go to school, I would be very polite and kind to kids that maybe they had to have a wheelchair, maybe they had to, have an oxygen tank with them in order to breathe. Whatever it was, we always were kind. We said hello, good morning. We were taught to respect all people, regardless of race. And so I carry those teachings. And today I work as an elder in a institution at the Regional Psychiatric Center in Saskatoon. And I work with many of our people that struggle with mental illness. And they are in this institution. They're in there. It's also it's a jail, but it's a place where they can come for healing too. So every morning we have prayers, we have circle, we have teachings. And I've been able to share many of my grandmother's teachings. And I would encourage you children here at Clifford Wetney School, if you get an opportunity to read this book, it's such a good book. How they got lost in Green Lake in the wild and how they made their way back. And my grandmother was smart. She knew the land and she listened. It was the wildlife that brought her home. And she was able to make it back to safety with her little sister. It's such a beautiful story. So that's what I wanted to share with you this morning. But I also want to share with you that be kind. It's so important to be kind to one another. Be good to people because you don't know what they're struggling with. And sometimes a kind word, a smile means so much. Hi, hi, kananas kung tnawaw kakio. Sama.
Thank you, Elsie. That's a real lovely story you have here. I'm going to try and read it myself. But I just wanted to talk about one of my grandparents, my dad's mom. Her name was Liza Puyak. When our parents would go somewhere to town or whatever, we were left there. And I remember her living not too far away from where we lived. There was a log cabin. It was like a big room. There was no bedrooms or no kitchen, nothing. Just a big room. But one thing I remember she had was a real huge king size bed, a homemade one, and she had made it had to be the softest bed I've ever known when I was growing up. Because a lot of us we lived in one house also, and there was 8 of us, and I have one sister and 6 brothers, and sometimes 3 of my grandmothers would live with us at one time. So I know how it feels to sleep on the floor. I slept on the floor basically almost half of my life. But anyway,
When you used to come and visit Mana in the summer, you'd never sleep with me.
yeah, and
You'd sleep on the floor.
anyway, she always had. It was a treat for us to go there. Um, my grandma, I don't remember her ever scolding us or spanking us, or
Yeah.
she always had good words to to tell us, and she showed us a lot of good things in life. But anyway, at nights we would she would dim the kind of like the Scola lamp, dim it, and then we'd all lay around this big bed, and she'd lay in the middle of it, and she'd tell Wisaki Chak stories, and we would lay. I used to like laying beside her because she would always scratch my hair, like just gently, just so you could fall asleep, I guess. But anyway, this one story that always stuck to my head is how Wisaki Chak was so hungry. He was walking one hot day. He was so hungry. He always carried his little sack everywhere he went. But he decided to sit down on this stump here, and then he was thinking, "I'm so hungry. I don't know where I'm going to get my next meal." And then across the road there was a big lake. There was ducks there, ducks galore everywhere. And he thought, well, how am I going to convince these ducks so I can at least have a meal to come to me? While he was sitting there, he decides to put some rocks in the sack. Figured it out. He put rocks in that sack, and then He got up and he put it over his shoulders. He started walking by the lake there. And these these ducks were all curious and wanted to know what was in that in his sack. So they were just quacking away there, and they asked, "Hey, Wisaki Chuck, where are you going?" "Oh, I'm just going over the hill here. I'm gonna go make a little ceremony there." And then, well, what's in your bag? "Oh, this is called like he called it pasagwap simuna. Like when you close your eyes, you dance, right? That's what's in here. So I'm going over the hill over here, and I'm going to go make a little ceremony. But you're all invited if you want to. You can come and join." So he went over the hill. He made a little kind of like a little Sundance looking area, but very small. He thought to himself, "Okay, I'll make it so small so when the ducks come in and they can't just fly out anywhere." He closed it around like almost like a sweat lodge, I guess, in a way. So towards the evening, he um, he saw the ducks coming one by one. "Just come on in," he told the ducks. And he left just a little opening there where they can just go in and out. That's it. They all lined up in many lines. I guess they're gonna dance. There was one little duck that didn't trust Wisaki-chan, so he sat right by the door. He was curious what kind of dance he's gonna make, or should I trust him, or what is he up to? So he told the ducks, he says, "When I start singing," he says, "you guys start dancing with your eyes closed, every one of them. You have to have your eyes closed in order to dance." So all the ducks were ready for the song, and the little duck sat in that little door area there. And all of a sudden, Saki Chak starts singing, and the ducks they all start dancing with their eyes closed, and they're going quack 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 quack. They're making so much noise that they didn't know what Saki Chak was up to. And this little one that sat by the door, he had his one eye open. He was dancing away. He was dancing to the beat. All of a sudden, Misaki-chan kept singing, and he started one side. He grabbed one of the ducks, and it wring their necks as he's singing. And the ducks couldn't tell because they're all quacking and they're all had their eyes closed. But that little one, when he noticed what was happening, he said, "Everybody get out. Wisaki-chan is going to kill us all." So of course, they can't all run right out. There was just a small opening. That little duck went running, and Misaki-chan got out, went after that little duck, and he just kicked that little duck on the butt, and he just went rolling down that little duck, eh? And that little duck jumped up, and he's just limping away, like he couldn't run or walk straight anymore. And that's the reason why the ducks waddle like that, like when they walk. It's because Wisaki-chan kicked that little duck on the on the butt and broke his leg probably or something. But that's the story. I always it was always stuck to my head when I was growing up, when my grandma would tell these stories. She had a lot of stories, but that was a favorite, and she always made it really exciting, and we would just laugh and laugh, you know. And I think that's the reason why they have legends, you know, why this the ducks waddle, and how come that the fox has a burnt tail.
Yeah.
That's another story that Wisaki-chan had told. But I promise next time I'll have a different story for the kids. But that is my favorite, and I like telling that story.
Mhm.
But if you want any kind of share just a glimpse of a legend, any kind.
I think that I've pretty well shared what I wanted to share about my grandma and the teachings that she has given me. So I'm good.
Yeah.
I've shared
I was going to talk about it in my language, but I don't want to take too much time. Maybe next time I'll begin with my language, but I wanted to share the story in English because I understand that all the young students, that's what they understand is English right now. What we're working on the Cree on them, but it's coming along, and slow, but it's coming along. So that's what I wanted to share.
Sanma.
Yep. Close it on. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening, and thank you to Clifford Watney School for inviting me, my friend Tina, my cousin. Thank you for listening. Hi, hi. Kinanaskum nawa kakyo.
Good.
Your turn.
Huh? Is it 1 o'clock?
No, I will.
What time is it?
Oh, we're just gonna go right through.
Right through, yeah.
You could go right through.
Right through.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can do it, man.
They can just watch the full video.
How did we do?
Yeah.
In your 1 to 10.
Let's say 10. It was good. Yeah. No, it was not didn't drag on or anything.
Yeah,
too
no,
long,
just
but
really-
to the story.
yeah.
That's the story.
Kept the kids.
I wanted
Say
to
what we have to
it
say
in my
for the
own
kids.
language, then say it to English. But then I thought, oh, next time I'll do that because
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how do it.
we're running time.
Yeah, Edgar did it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, a little bit of creativity.
Yeah, they did good.
Yeah. So yeah, we can.
No, good.
If you want, we can put that chair over there.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
I'm gonna sort it.
You shouldn't swing it around too much.
I know I should have been. I don't know what I did. That woman there gives a massage, eh? I was supposed to go at one. Maybe I can still go.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
should
my-
probably be able to.
My storytelling would be different, eh?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's why I was raised different, eh?
Do it however you feel.
Yeah.
So yeah, as soon as we get I'll let you know, and you just introduce yourself.
Yeah,
We'll
okay.
get into the story.
Okay.
Okay,
So you
yeah.
just talk about it. Take an hour if you want. Right?
Yep. Take however long you want.
This is the camera right here, eh? Straight?
Yep. Yeah, you're good to go.
Okay. Good morning. My name is Ben Watney. I'm from the Watney clan. And I've been raised by my grandparents, Peter Watney and Annie Watney, Annie LaFawn. I was brought up to know my relatives, my family. And from what I gather, Watney had 9 sons and 5 daughters. And I noticed one of his daughters is still alive and well, and a CWS lady, I seen her on Facebook. She's got to be in her late 90s, eh? And she's a veteran of the Second World War. So this is how I was raised. I was brought up to know who was who, and that's probably why they taught me that way, to know who I was. So when I think about my great grandfather Watney, I asked about what did he do, and they said, well, he was a war chief, and he died as an elder, like 68 years old when he passed away. So these are what I was brought up with. And then I was told my mother was from the Turtle Mountain Reserve, from the USA, one of the first reserves in the United States. And a lot of people have moved from there. Some of the people that passed on here, like Tony Brown, he's passed away here about 3 weeks ago, and he's originally from the Turtle Mountain Reserve in the USA. And he chose to be buried here on Red Pheasant, eh? But his parents had moved from Turtle Mountains to Rocky Boy. So this is where he met his family, eh? The Baptiste family, eh? So my mother was from that reserve, so I often wondered how my dad had met up with her, but there was a Dakota from that reserve that married a Watney woman here. And that's quite a history there, too. And his name was Alec Dakota Watney. And he was a First World War veteran, and he died serving his country. And he was also an Olympian that attended the 1912 Sweden Olympics. So this is how I was raised, to know who you are and what people, where you came from. So I grew up with these stories, like I would ask, like this Ben Atcham, where is he from? And my grandparents said, well, he grew up grew up with us too. He thought the way. That's what I remember him being called that, in German, you know that. And well, that's obvious. His dad was probably German, but there's also Alphonse Little Popper. He grew up with my parents, and I wanted to know my grandparents. I want to know if they're related, And we're all related, And I was raised every girl I brought home to meet my parents, my grandparents, said you're related to her. So I had to find a wife that out of this area, So which I did. Now I'm finding out I might be even related to her, So that's how far the Watney family go. Like, there's a big family, and a lot of people came over here and got married, and there's 9 boys to choose from, So, and these Watneys, some of them have 2 or 3 wives, and that tradition still passed on here, So for my younger nephew, they got 3 wives, and raising a hockey team. But that's the way I was raised up, to know who you are, and so you don't practice that Hutterite, Hutterite, what they do, they intermarry, and and the next thing it affects the family down the line. So that's how I was brought up. And I heard about a Wisake talk, and when I was a young boy. But I was taught differently about a Wisake talk. He was a cunning person, eh? And I think what the lesson I'll be learned from what Wisake talk is to know your environment, eh? To know the animals and to know the birds and respect them, And I was told like if I didn't respect nature, Wisake Jack would deal with me. Eh? Being a young kid, I would, yeah, I'll do that, So and I heard about Jesus, but I was young, and I didn't really know about Jesus, and they're comparing him to Jesus, And I thought about that, but I remember when my grandfather, old Mosquito, would come visit him from next reserve, and I was wondering, are we related to him too? And he said, no, he said, my dad, and my uncles, he said they invited him to come and live here next reserve because they came over and they told Watney Red Pigeon and Batiste we never got a medicine chest clause in Treaty 4. And with all these new diseases that are coming to our country, like tuberculosis, different kind of new diseases, they're coming off them ships and they're bringing them here. And we cannot handle it. We don't have the knowledge in medicine to handle those new diseases. So we're telling you to put that clause in that treaty when you sign Treaty 6 here. I'm talking about 1876, eh? So that's what they did. And what they told Mosquito there, Sagamace, uh, stay here, stay here with us, and you'll get land here. And we signed a treaty. Yet they're from Treaty 4, but they signed treaty here adhesion to Treaty 6. I think in 19 early 1900s. So we have Mosquito here next living to our reserve. And our family's married into that reserve, eh? Walter Watney's daughter, Annie, married into that reserve. She married Abraham Stone. And her sister was Frances Nicotine. And she married Joseph Nicotine. So the Watneys are related closely in there. Solomon Nicotine, eh? And down the line we have Gary Sophie here. Gary Sophie Nicotine. He's direct descendants, eh? And the other direct descendants, and there's the Watney married a couple, some sisters there, Chatelaines, eh? So the Chatelaines married a lot of Indian men. And there's John Nicotine. He's an offspring from that marriage. And Leroy's still here, Leroy Nicotine. So he's part of close family there. And then the other sisters, Chatelaines, they married and they had sons, a Henneque, Sasacamoose, all these people that have reserves now. So that old man, that old Chardonnay, knew what he was doing when he came here with his daughters. They married into treaty, eh? So that's how they got their families were protected by treaty. They had the rights of treaty, eh? Like red pheasant and mosquito are closely related, eh? Right now there's a stone there that's a chief, and she's a what? So that family name goes quite a ways. When I was growing up, my grandpa talked to me about late Bill Whitney. Like Bill I think he was finished high school when he's about 15 years old, and he was a lawyer already when he was 25. So he broke loose from Red Pheasant. He paid his own way. Indian Affairs wouldn't pay his way. They told him that, well, you're enfranchised now. You took yourself out of treaty. You're a lawyer. And a lot of our veterans, like Noel Watney, and he was a paratrooper in the Second World War. When he was in the war, they took his treaty away. And there's a lot of people that, lost their treaty rights. Another hero we have here is Edgar Baptiste. He went and fought in China, Hong Kong, and he was a prisoner of war there for 5 years, and he was lost. Nobody knew where he was, and not only that, he was injured in a battle, and he lost his mind for about probably 5 or 6 years while he was in that prisoner of war camp, and then when the war was over, he ended up in England in a mental institution for about 12 years. But they always believed that he was from the Northwest Territories. That's the only memory he had. And when he left, Battleford was the capital of the Northwest Territories. And, like he had that knowledge, and he knew he was from the Northwest Territories. So when come back to he tried to come back to Canada, but he went to the wrong places looking for where he came from, eh? So I was raised with stories like that, and I was shown all the documents about him being killed in the act of war. So this is the way I was brought up to with history, and then I was tutored by late Harry Brabant. Harry Brabant was the elder from our elder, and his mother was the oldest Watney in the family, so he took that upon himself, and he was very intelligent, but he had a memory like an elephant. He could remember. One day I asked him what day was I born, and he said April 18, 1949, and he told me what the weather was like that morning and everything, and who was that? My grandmother's, when she was a midwife. So these are the things that I learned from him. And he said, try to be precise when you talk about history, because you're going to pass that on to your grandchildren and great-grandchildren. And he says, well, every time an elder passes away, it's just like losing a library. That's his advice he told me. So to get your story straight when you listen to elders. So I try to do that, eh? And when I grew up under my grandpa's strings, I attended a lot of sun dances, eh? And I was so inquisitive. I'd try and crawl in there and look at these people that are dancing, without water and without food. Of course, when you're about 8, 9 years old, you want to know if they're cheating. I was looking around for the water and the food. And I was watching people get cramps too, because they're blowing a whistle and dancing. You try that 3 or 4 days now, you don't see that. You don't see that same thing. When I woke up in the mornings, there's 40 horses, everybody's singing. And there was an old guy called CWS. I think they named a school after him in Alfred. So he was like a master of ceremonies at the Sundances, He'd make all those announcements, one sky, and right away, like everybody just, he'd go walking around, and then them horses would come around, dancing, be singing, That's a good way to wake up in the morning, and it's early, like at 7 o'clock. Today, guys don't get up till noon,
Yeah.
2 o'clock, So, that's what I mean. What I noticed too about our elders back then, they created their own fun. They'd tell stories, and they'd joke all the time. I remember they were talking about within the brothers, and David, what I guess was really quick tempered, and he was the oldest, and one time there's a big band meeting, and he come walking in with his big buffalo coat, It must have been about 80 pounds, Everybody was cleaning it off him, they took it off him, and the Indian agent asked him, "Well, what do you think, Dave?" Dave looked at him and said, "What the hell is the matter with you? I just walked in here 1 second ago." So the boy just, and I remember my Uncle Oliver, he just turned 92 here. I was there, he said, when Dave gave that Indian agent hell, That's the way these white people are. I just took my coat off and they wanted me to talk to her. You see, that's the way they were, My Uncle Eli, I used to travel with him. Like, I went to Red and White, and Doc Ettinger was running that store. And his son-in-law was Clem Firo. So Clem hired Eli to drive a truck, And then one day I went to the Red and White, and the farmers were bringing in cans and everything, to the Red and White store. They said Eli's truck, this fell off, he says. We were following the truck from Battleford, So Clem asked me, "You want a job?" I said, "Yeah." I was about 10 years old. "I want you to ride with Uncle Eli," he said. "He's dropping all the stuff from I want you to put the tarp over the truck, and make sure nothing falls off." And then I said, "Well, how much are you going to pay me?" He said, $20 a month, he said. "I'll give you $20 a month." Back then, I remember I'd buy a butter for 5 cents and a piece of meat, for $1. Now you'll buy a steak, looking at $30, So back then, and then I remember guys buying tobacco 17 cents. And they'd roll their own, And a pop in a bar was 20 cents. A nickel for the bar and 15 cents for a pop. So I grew up with that kind of, and I appreciate now, what I went through. I used to run from Red Peasant to Cando to go and play hockey. Now we got a rink here, and they can't even. The last I heard, they're trying to grow marijuana in there. That's totally against what I believe in, you know. That's things for children, and building up a hockey team and giving them a chance to be an NHL player. So that's, you know, that's the way I was brought up. You know, do something, be something, you know. And he said, my grandpa, you got all these people. You got Tommy Starr, you know. Well, who's Tommy Starr? He said, well, he grew up on Red Pigeon. He went to the war. And he was a personal machine gunner for General Montgomery. Grandpa said, that's why all his kids are got them famous names, John F. Kennedy, eh? He named all his kids. The younger one, John Glenn, eh? First astronaut to go up. See, that's the history that I was brought up with, you know. And he said, my grandpa encouraged me to see what these people are doing, you know. Try and grasp what they're doing. He said, what your heart, he says, what comes out of your mouth, he said, that's how what's in your heart. That's what's in your soul, he said, you know. And what he says, don't say garbage, you know. Don't talk garbage. Talk with kind, like I heard it, kind words, and encourage people to do stuff, eh. So, you know, I was raised treaty, eh. Like, you know, people doesn't know, they still don't know what treaty means. Well, we're looking at this school here, treaty. I remember when we organized at the grassroots level to get a new school. Well, we did all that work, like Harry and Nicotine and Elmer Whitney, and there's Herman Bugler, all these elders, eh? They did all the grassroots work, eh, to do it, eh? And then my grandpa said, Ben, when you talk, he says, train yourself to you put your word there. So I said, Grandpa, I got $10 here. I want to go to Ottawa. Okay, here's another $10. So how far are you going to go? I said, I'll probably go to Regina. So I went to Regina. I met Jim Sinclair. I said, Jim, I'm going to go to Ottawa, and I got some presentations to make for treaty. Well, he was a Métis Society leader, but he was from Gordon's Reserve, and he's my mother's relative, eh? So he always catered to me too. He gave me a job, you know, and so I went and seen Jim. He said, I'll send you to Ottawa. I'll give you 1 week's hotel accommodation, give you $900. Here I left here with $20. So I had that favor, eh? That's another thing my grandpa said. You got to have the favor of God and men. Those two work together. When you have the favor of God, things will go through. But he said, your faith will bring you through. Well, what's faith? It's something that you want, you can't see, but you got to believe I'll have that. So that's what I had when I went to Ottawa. I told Jim what I was going to do, and he said, I'll back you up. When I got over to Ottawa, I stayed in the Beacon Arms Hotel. This lady really smiled at me and said, my boss wants to meet you. You're B. Whitney? I said, yeah. Well, it was already 11 o'clock at night when I got there. He'll be right up to see you. So this guy come knocking at the door, eh, and he's looking at me I got the wrong B. Whitney, he said, eh? Yeah, sorry, I said, that's my name. He said, I went to school with Bill Whitney. How is he related to you? That's my uncle. I went to school with him, he said. And we went to Harvard together. We went to McGill. He said, you had it up here. Smart man, he said. So what I'm going to do is, I heard you're looking for work. I got a couple men to help you in the morning. And he said, I know it's rough. You have a vehicle? No, well, you can use mine. And he said, if you need money, I'll give it to you. You're going to be staying here for a week and away, and you'll find a job, he told me. I'll make sure. So I had that unction, eh? And I had that confidence. So when he told me, he said, there's a guy downstairs. He's a Jew. And he'll give you a good idea what to do. I was reading a newspaper, and this guy got fired, eh? The day before, and I said, oh, how is he going to help me? And I was reading there, and I guess he got in an argument with the government, so they let him go. So in the morning, I go down to the restaurant, and there's a guy with a newspaper with 2 holes in it, eh? And I said, that's the guy I'm supposed to meet. And I went and sat beside him, eh? And he said, I like your name, Ben. That's my name, too, he said, eh? Ben Bates. I had breakfast with him, and I heard you're looking for work. Yeah. He said, what do you do? I said, well, I'm a treaty Indian, and I just want to show Indian Affairs that what they're doing is not treaty. Yeah, he said, I have to agree with you. When the Germans came over, he said, to study what they're going to do with the Jew people, Ben, they went to Indian Affairs and asked for work there to study what they do with Indians here. That's why it was so damn easy for the Nazis to put us on trains and take us to these death camps. I survived it, he said. I survived the war, the biggest death camp, Auschwitz, he said. And I looked at him, well, how do you compare that to me? You're in the same situation. They put you on reserves. They can concentrate you and do what they want. And as Indian Affairs is the one that's your enemy. And I looked at him, eh? Do you want to work with Indian Affairs? Yeah, I'd like to get to know the real. So anyway, he said, make a resume. So I had my resume, it's 3 pages, eh? He made it look thick, So I was noticing he's ripping phone books like, I don't know. I didn't ask what he was doing. I just okay. So he said, we'll go see this guy, Gerard Pelche. He was the Minister of Secretary of State, eh? And he's looking at Ben Bates. Eh? He says, what'd they fire you for, Ben? Well, I wasn't disobedient, he said, eh? I don't believe in colonization. That's the first time I heard about the colonization, I want to decolonize, that's what he said. So anyway, well, he said, you there, what's your name? I said, Ben what? He said, what are you? I'm looking for work, I said. And then he said, well, where's your resume? Right there. And he started talking down to me, eh? Racist. And Ben Bates grabbed that resume like this. It's about that thick as he added paper to it. And he just threw it at him, eh? Let's go, Ben. Boy, I said, what a way to look for work. I was thinking, I bet I followed him out, Jesus. And he said, wait, no. Ben swore at him a few times, and we walked out, eh? And then we went down and met the minister of Chrétien's deputy minister, Joe Siacha. And he's looking at me there. Yeah, I already heard that I was looking for work. And he said, what do you do? I said, well, I know my treaty. And I said, Indian Affairs are not following any protocol about treaty. In fact, I said, we're just against the wall, eh? I pulled out a voucher, $24 voucher, and I threw it at him. That's what I get for 1 month's living. And he looked at it. Well, you mean you don't get a welfare check? No, a voucher. I said, my dad's a carpenter, my grandpa's a carpenter. They get vouchers, $500 voucher. They don't get paid for working on houses. And he said, oh, geez, we got to change that, he said. I'm an Italian, he's working in Indian Affairs. He says, they cannot stand Italians. I'm a whop to them. He said, that's the way they treat Native people here. I've been here a year, he said, I seen it. I said, I seen an Indian guy there with nails there. He couldn't even open his door, and a Cadillac pulled up there and they opened the door for him. And he's working for Indian Affairs. And I asked, what is he doing? He said, doing research. I said, he can't even hold a damn pen, a pen to write. His nails were so long, eh? Real big shot guy from India. And then we found out he was making $80,000 a year, So Seattle said, what do you want to do, Ben? Well, I said, I've been here 2 days and there's 5,400 Indian civil servants. Get rid of half of them. And I said, what are we going to do with the money? Give it to the chief and consuls. The chief does 24/7, just like a doctor. They getting paid for it. All the treaty allows is $25 a day to it, $25 a year to him. And the consuls get $15. No salaries, nothing. That Satcher just looked at me, holy smoke. I want to give you a job right now. Okay? When I start, you're on right now. How about you, Ben? Ben Bates? And I said, how about if he's my boss? Yeah, okay, we'll do it that way. I want you to hire 47 people, he said, to work across Canada. And then what are you going to call yourself? Well, I said, we'll call ourselves Native Youth in Canada. Because I was vice president at that time already, eh? And Hart Manley was the president. Right away, we got hired, eh? And they said, I want you to pick 4 or 5 people that are qualified, Ben, and that can do the job, eh? From where? He said, your area, Saskatchewan. Yeah, okay. So I thought about what I was going to do. Saul Sanderson, Tony Cody, all these leaders that had inspiration, to do something, eh? So anyway, that happened. I got a job. They asked me, what kind of money do you want? Well, I read I'm worth $48,000 a year. So he kind of looked at me. He said, that's kind of high. We'll give you $15.88 every 2 weeks. Okay, that sounds good, I said. But he said, we'll give you an air flight. You can go anywhere in Canada. And there's Gustafson Lake. He said, we want you to troubleshoot. Go and see what they want there, he said. I said, I already know what they want. I said, a bunch of Germans are living on Indian land there. They're trying to take over. And these guys said, no, that's our land. And you haven't signed a treaty in BC yet. Okay, we'll go and handle it. We'll give you the authority. So that's the kind of authority I was given right away, 24 years old. But my grandpa already said, you're going to be stepping into some dangerous spots, Ben. Watch out, I said, Grandpa, what kind of experience do you have? He said, we used to ride the trains free to Ottawa and go and speak on behalf of our people. In 1928, he said, they cut off our travel. No more meetings, no more sun dances, nothing. So my grandpa said, and we knew right away that they're trying to do something. 1930, they passed the Provincial Transfer Act, the Northern Resource Act, they call it. All our lands
went under the province without any permission from us. So he said, that's another thing that you have to fight for. You know, I think about it today, this whole pandemic, all the monies that we're getting from the resources of Saskatchewan, Alberta, and Manitoba go to England. That money is over there. That's our money. Trudeau accesses that money there, and he's handling the whole pandemic. And why I say that money is in the trillions, and it is earning interest of billions dollars a month. So Trudeau can do what he wants to do with that money right now under the pandemic. Everybody's getting $2,000, you know, a month, even up to $8,000. That's our money. See, that's our, you know, nobody's ever checked that out. But when I was working in Ottawa, I found out what was happening there. And it got so bad that, you know, okay, I was stepping on a lot of toes. They're going to start firing me, eh? So I brought the American Indian movement right into Ottawa, and they took over that building. Then they took all them documents. They still have them documents. So we have people out here in Canada that know what's going on. But these guys are my age now. They're all elders, eh? And they know, they have those documents. They know where the money's going and how it's coming to Canada. But, you know, we have leaders today that don't know that. We have young leaders that are jumping into chief and consul and their Indian Act. You sign this municipal agreement here, we'll give you, you know, 50 million, 55 million. So I don't know if we reached that spot yet in our time, but it's pretty damn close. We were supposed to be getting cows and plows, which is a treaty land entitlement. You know, we're supposed to be getting that. And that's a lot of money, you know. So I'm cautioning people right here. If that money's there, you know, we have every right as treaty people to claim it. The chief and consul shouldn't be able to make a resolution, we're going to spend it this way. It's got to be our decision, a banned treaty position, a treaty position. The people that are treaty can make that decision by law. Nothing has been signed yet. There hasn't been any referendums to release that money, you know. I was thinking about the court case here. How are the bus drivers going to be paid? See, I have to, cows and plows. When the treaty was signed, they all wanted us to be farmers, you know. And all I can say is when Watney sent his boys to school, 9 of them, they came out bricklayers, they came out carpenters, they had trades, because that's what it was called, Balford Industrial School. Now, when in the treaty they promised you land and plows and cows, you know, the treaty says the deer, the moose is yours, the fish is yours. You have the right to gather. But our cattle is domestic. We can, you know, you're going to allow us to come and farm here. But we want to help you be a farmer too. Well, what they did was they got rid of our buffalo. Now they want us to live on cattle, eh? See, that's what happened. Now, cows and plows is a legitimate claim, and they never gave us In 1883, they declared Red Bend we're in rebellion with the government. They cut off all funding. But Cows and Plows is in there. The chief and consul never got paid for, I don't know, from 1883 till George Whitney was made chief, 1941. So they never got the money, but just lately that money was given to the chief and consul. And I think we got $200 a piece here at Christmas. So that's part of the settlement. But actually I heard it was 500. It should have been 500 a piece. But we were given 200 at Christmas, and then a turkey and a little ham, That's not $500 worth. But see, these are the things you got to watch, eh? And I've been trained to be a watchdog, right from when I was small. Because those are agreements that are still not met. That's called treaty. So I'm just hoping we're raising a bunch of lawyers here to go after that. What's her name is rich today, Oprah Winfrey. Not because she's famous, because her parents were slaves. And they built up those foundations. There was, cotton plantations, made white people rich. The white people had to pay her $1 billion because their grandparents made them rich. How about our land? Who made it? There's about 12 families in Canada that run this country. They're rich. Why in the hell don't we sue them and go after what they owe us? Canada is not even a country yet. It's not a republic. Our money still goes to the Queen over there, and then she gives out the money like that. Right now, the ball is in our park. A Native woman is the Governor General of Canada. She's our boss. The treaty. The important people in Canada are about 20th in the line of succession. Trudeau is down here about 29th. He's not that important. But, like the people build him up prime minister, eh? But, we got to start looking at the whole system, the province, eh? And what they took they took our land, they took our resources. That's what we got to start looking at as treaty. Like we got to have a strong chief and consul to pressure the Cows and Plows, not using a colonized lawyer to go after. It doesn't work. When our people become really good fighters for the Queen gave them a title, Queen's Consul. Then they can't even do it either. They're under the Queen. So that's got to stop. International law. I didn't know what it was, and then my grandmother explained it to me. Your grandpa Sitting Bull knew international law. And I was drinking that time. She said, when you sober up, I'll tell you more about it. Well, it's just lately when I've been sober 43 years now. And then I know now what Sitting Bull meant about international law. He knew it. They're trying to get him to sign the Dakota territories away because they said he was a chief. Sitting Bull was not a chief. He was a medicine man. See, the history is wrong there already. And then what he did when he killed Custer, he took the maternal clan mothers and brought them to Canada to protect them. They were trying to kill him and his whole family and all his warriors. They had to come to Canada. Mosquito, eh? All these guys that came to Mosquito, those are Custer's killers. Curly's, Wahobans, all these people that are living here are the ones that fought Custer, and they had to come and live over here. So that's why what they was said, you got a bunch of rebels up there staying in the Eagle Hills. This was not called Red Pheasant until Red Pheasant signed a treaty, eh? This was called McSewacheek, eh? That's the history, you know. So that's the way I was raised, eh? And I wanted to mention a few legends, eh? Like I was brought up too with the Sundances, eh? I was there, but it was too rough for me. I seen when my mother's, the way they do the Sundances, they put those pegs here and they just stretch till they break. And I said, holy smokes, I don't want to get into that. That's too much. But they still do that in the States. And White Bear, all these people, Carlisle, those are all my mother's cousins. They come and live there in White Bear, eh? President Trump. Those are all relatives. Then they came to Gordon's, eh? Gordon Reserve. Those are Pelsies are all my mother's relatives, eh? So those are the history I was brought up with, eh? What is the international law? Like, you know, Janice Switlow is an international lawyer. She's got a lot of information. And that's one lawyer that everybody should be using. She knows international law. Because she lived right on the BC border. And her reserve is all getting charged for doing business in the States and in Canada, eh? And she won all her cases because she knew international law. And like we don't know international law here, but we have a law that protects us we can take anything across the States and come back to. We have that, eh? But Canada doesn't want to recognize it, eh? But it's always been there. I started the food bank in Saskatoon. I came across the border with about $200,000 worth of machinery. And that guy said, you better know somebody in high government or else God's the only one that can help you. I said, why? He said, I'm going to charge you tariff on this. $170,000 worth. So I was friends with Bill McKnight, the Minister of Indian Affairs. That's how we got to school, because I campaigned for him. Then what do you want? I said, we need a new school. 100 years we've been waiting for our treaty. Well, he said, don't tell anybody from Muskeg because they'll get jealous. Well, I said, they're going to make a McKnight Mall for you, Bill, and named after you. He didn't know that, eh? So he said, okay, that's good. I'll give you your school, he said. The rehab, too. I said, we've been 5-6 years, chiefs have been talking about rehab. I said, no, check it out. So he did, and then he used Gerald to check it out, and Gerald found out, the chiefs were just having meetings and they weren't doing anything about it. So Bill McKnight gave that rehab to Red Pheasant. But we had to go out and campaign for this guy. He became Minister of Indian Affairs, eh? So that's the thing that I learned about history. It's not what you know, it's who you know, So Trudeau, eh? I met Justin Trudeau at La Loche here when they had the murders there. And I was standing there and he shook my hand and I said, the last time I seen you, you were 3 years old, I told him. He looked at me, do you know my family? Yeah, I know your mom, Margaret. I work for your dad, I told him. He said, take this guy's number down, eh? And I got an invitation, eh? to go to Ottawa when I go there, go and visit him. See, it's not what you know, it's who you know, so that's something I was raised up with, eh? Like be kind to people and don't back down if you have a legal right, eh? Don't back down. I like to see that treaty taught here, but at a different level. We can use the pipe and all that. That pipe was already used. We need people that are going to make their stand, eh? They got to make their stand. Like right now, you're looking at the truckers, eh? They're blowing horns and all that. When Jericho was a big in walled city, eh? And the Israelites were coming out of after the Red Sea. They had to go through the Red Sea, and the Lord parted that, and they brought them through. Now, when they were coming out of the wilderness, they came to Jericho to come and claim it. What did they do? They didn't have the army. What they did was they went around that city 7 times with horns, and then the walls fell in. That's what you call power. I'm not talking about. That's the real power, eh? And what you're seeing on TV is horns blowing, eh? But it's being covered up. In the States, you've seen them storming the Washington. Half them guys that went there weren't even involved in the violent acts. There's another group in there came back to make it look bad, eh? And right now there's a blackout on media. You can't hear the truth. Same with Canada, it's getting like that. Everything just hush, hush, hush. They stop it, eh, before people realize what's going on, eh? So that's what treaty is all about. We made a sacred covenant here with the Lord, eh? In 1876. His son, Jesus Christ, is on there. 1876. No, let the government try and break that. You're not just, fighting a government. We never signed a damn treaty with Ottawa. We signed a treaty with the Queen over there, Britain. And look who's getting all the money, see? That's what we got to start concentrating on. Not that treaty, that Indian Act is not treaty. John A. Macdonald wanted to create work for all his hacks, eh? So he created Indian Affairs. And all these guys that are in the army, he put Indian agents on the reserve here to take the power away from the chiefs. He didn't have to answer to the chiefs. I have an Indian agent on there, he's an old veteran, That's exactly what happened to us. They didn't have to ask the chief or consul. I asked my grandpa, I said, what was your role? Well, he said, my cousin Weemas was the hereditary chief. And after Edgar got lost in the war there, he just lost it. He didn't want anything to do with it because he always believed that his son was alive, and people didn't believe him. Well, Edgar showed up 73 years later that he was alive. And even the people that belonged to Red Peasants said, no, that's not him, But Edgar remembered this. His twin boys came to Dad, there's a guy that's got pictures at the mall. When he seen Alan Tapp's pictures, Edgar said, that's my auntie right there. Oh, Maggie. That's on that raised me. He remembered, all these horse scenes and these sloughs where they used to go skating. He seen them all there. He was telling his wife, remember all that stuff I'm telling you about? Look at these. This is what I'm remembering. He said, my mind. So that's how he came back. I want to meet Alan Sapp. So he met Alan Sapp, and they, who are you? He said, Edgar Baptiste. And Alan just looked at him, eh? But Alan had a photographic memory. He drew a picture of him and he showed it to Leonard Watney. Leonard Watney's dad was a half brother to Edgar, the same mother, eh? But Leonard's dad was a white man. That's why he had the blue eyes, you know, and all the passports have blue eyes. So he said, Edgar said, I remember this guy he used to call me Etzigan. That was Leonard, eh? And that old lady, Maggie, she's Etzigan or something, you know. Not Edgar, eh? There's no, in Cree, there's no R, you know, no L. Yeah, I used to watch these guys call my dad Nenix, you know, Lennox, you know, Nenix, you know. See, these are the stuff that, and my dad was a chief. He always wore his treaty uniform. You know, he always wore it. And I can talk about Indian justice here. Because, you know, the cops didn't come out right away. Take them 2 days to come to Red Pheasant. But if there was wife beaters around here, my dad, Nolan, Joe Dressman, Eli Watney, would go and pay that guy a visit and drag him around. That guy wouldn't be hitting his wife anymore. In fact, they had him hog-tied there at the treaty building, and the RCMP picked him up. And I was watching there, and what do you think, Chief? You know, and my dad's, I think 6 months in jail would do him good. That'll fix him up, sober him up. He'll quit fighting his wife. So I asked my grandpa, I said, did you do that in your days? Yeah, we did that. There's some women that are getting beaten up by their husband. What you do is took them behind the barn, dragged them sort of manure. He said, eh? Cured them, eh? So that's there's no they didn't hesitate to help back. They did their own justice, eh? So that's what I grew up with, eh? And you know, I grew up with, I used to get mad when these mosquitoes would come over to visit. They'd come over with tents. You know, that means they're going to stay there for 3 or 4 days, you know. And I used to just, oh, geez. And I also, even like 20 years later, my grandpa was still feeding people. Every Saturday and Sunday, he had church. He'd feed 30, 40 people, you know. And you try doing that today. You know, but I said, Grandpa, how'd you do that? He said, I tithe. I said, what do you mean tithe? Well, in the Bible it says you give 10% of your income to the Lord, and he'll rebuke the devourer. I said, now, who's the devourer? That's the devil. He says he's trying to take everything from you. He comes to kill, destroy, and seek, destroy, and kill you. And that's what he's doing. And he said, when you tithe to the Lord, he'll protect you, your crops, your animals, everything. So that's how I was brought up. And that we sake, I heard it different, you know. Ben, before the Bible came here, he said, God was here on earth. And I said, was his name Wisake-chan? I don't know, but the Holy Spirit was here before. That's his job, he said. Like he said, the Bible talks about you don't need to read that Bible. You know it right here when you're wrong. And that's right. Every person that I met in Native country, they know who God is. They know between right and wrong, eh? So that's what he told me. That's what the Holy Spirit is. If you, Wisake Chak, he said, It's a kind of a person that he teaches you how to bargain. He teaches you how to get out of a rough time. Like up north, I was talking to this one elder. He said, "You ever heard about a Wisaki talk?" Yeah, he said, he uses animals to help you and everything. One time he said, I broke down on a boat. And okay, Wisaki talk, what's the matter? What happened here? And I heard this bird, pluck, pluck. I said, what? Plug, the plug. So I took it apart. He said, and picked it up, started up. He said, yeah. See, it's just, that goes all over those different stories. Hey, you laugh about. But that bird that pluck, I said, oh, geez. But anyway, you hear different stories like that. They're funny when you think about it. He was stuck, Oh, so anyway, just my that's my I can go on and on about different stuff, but I wanted to talk about people later on, like and I'll do that. People that meant a lot, that influenced my life, on the reserve, and off the reserve, and what they did, like we had a thing for honoring the people that are from Red Pheasant. There was 200 people that were doctors, lawyers, scientists that we never even heard about. But they left so long ago that, and they said if we had a chance to move back, we would. But we have property, we have, our lives over there. And I was just amazed, I was meeting lawyers, I was meeting prosecutors and everything, and rocket scientists that work in Houston, first time I ever met him. So that's the way I was raised. My grandpa said, you're something. Don't ever forget it. And you don't have to be educated, he says, that's not he said, I know a lot of educated people that don't use it. They're looking for work, he said. He was right, He said, look at my cousin, your Harry Rayban. Could have been a doctor, a lawyer, everything. His mind was so keen, He had knowledge, I asked Harry, I said, these elders, how do you beat them in stories? He said, he said, they're easy, he said. I said, well, tell me, he said, well, Daniel and the lions, then he said, can you beat that? When they put him in a fire, and they heated it up 50 times, even the guards were getting burned to death trying to heat up that thing to kill Daniel. And that king said, heat it up some more, And then when he lost about 50 men, he seen 3 guys in there, and he said, are you still alive, Daniel? He said, yeah. Well, come out. So Daniel became the prime minister of Babylon. He never had problem again with that king. That king said, you bring all your people out of here and move back to Jerusalem. I'll pay for everything. So those are the stories that Harry told me to tell. Always bring hope into your story, Because we need hope right now in this pandemic, So, that's what I'll try to encourage. Thank you. Yeah.
So I'd like to thank Mr. Ben Watney. Very knowledgeable man. He'll be back here actually tomorrow. He's back here tomorrow. He's going to be talking some more. So again, we're not done. We're here for the next starting today, so 3 days in total. So tomorrow on Friday. So I'd like to thank Ben Watney again, and stay tuned. We have one more after dinner.
Thank you.
Some.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.